that nagging worry that maybe you're just sort of adrift, like a
Ah.
random accident floating through life, maybe looking for something external to tell you that you matter. Well, this deep dive is definitely for you. Our mission today is really clarity. We want to unpack this identity of being chosen and called and see how that understanding can maybe transform the way you see your everyday life, your responsibilities, turning them into something purposeful.
That's exactly it. It's a critical pivot we're aiming for. Because this source material, it's not dealing with just, superficial feelings of self-worth. It's about a foundational declaration of inherent value, value given by God. So we're synthesizing this to show how embracing this definition being chosen really shifts your life's center of gravity, away from, let's say, the fleeting applause of the world and toward something eternal, an eternal designation.
Yeah, and it really hinges on this incredible, dense, and I'd say revolutionary passage. Let's read our anchor verse. It's 1 Peter 2, verse 9, from the New King James Version. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Wow, that is quite a stack of titles. They sound incredibly weighty.
They are.
So let's unpack them. Maybe start with the historical
Okay.
context. I mean, who is Peter actually writing to and why use such, well, charged language? Okay, yeah, context is absolutely crucial here.
Yeah.
Peter wasn't writing to, the movers and shakers or the powerful. No, he was writing to believers scattered across the Roman provinces, people who were facing actual persecution, rejection, social isolation. Society was essentially telling them, flat out,
Yeah.
you don't matter, you're rejected.
Okay.
So the message Peter delivered was, well, it was designed as this radical counter-narrative. The culture might reject you, fine, but your true worth isn't based on their approval. It's established by God. And that brings us right into section 1, defining this identity through those 4 specific, really powerful terms he uses.
Right, those terms, chosen generation, royal priesthood, holy nation. Today they might sound, I don't know, a bit abstract, maybe highly religious, but back then in the first century, that language must have been explosive. It was Old Testament language, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Originally spoken just to ancient Israel.
Exactly.
So why is it so significant that Peter takes this historical, almost ethnic language and applies it to this, well, universal group of believers?
It's fascinating, isn't it? The sheer audacity, really, of that transfer. These weren't just throwaway titles. They had massive theological, even political significance back then. By applying them universally, Peter was essentially saying, look, you, the marginalized, the scattered, you now share the unique privileges and responsibilities that were once reserved for just one nation. It's like the ultimate statement of spiritual inclusion.
Yeah, okay.
So let's break down the definitions the source material gives us, starting with the first couple. You are a chosen generation. This is about selection. You were specially picked, selected by God from all peoples, and the emphasis is that this selection is entirely unmerited. It's got nothing to do with how smart you are, or how successful, or even how good you behaved yesterday.
Okay, so right away, it removes that burden of performance, that pressure.
Completely.
And then we have the holy nation. That sounds like separation, being set apart.
It is, yeah, but not separation just for the sake of being isolated.
Right.
Holiness means being set apart for God's use. So practically, for you listening, this means living differently from the world around us. If the world runs on, say, self-interest and instant gratification,
Yeah.
then the holy nation operates on different principles like love, sacrifice, and eternal perspective.
All right. Now, the third title, his own special people. That one really strikes me, especially considering Peter's audience, these rejected outsiders. What does the devotional emphasize about being special?
This is where I think the emotional weight really lands. The text defines this group as God's treasured possession. Just think about what we treasure, things that are irreplaceable, things we guard, protect because their worth is just intrinsic.
Yeah.
And when you look at the overwhelming modern quest for validation needing likes, approval, buying things to feel worthy, this idea that you already are the treasured possession of the Creator, well, that's about as countercultural as you can get.
That really does change the whole game, doesn't it? Instead of chasing meaning in the next promotion or trying to get approval online, your value is just set, permanently defined by the one who assigned it. You are, by definition, loved and secured.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this identity isn't like a new idea God suddenly had. It's eternal. The sources point us to Ephesians 1:4, which says God chose us in him before the foundation of the world.
Wow. Okay. Before mountains, before stars, the plan for my life existed. So if I'm feeling stressed today about, finding my path, what does that eternal planning actually mean for my anxiety right now?
It means you're premeditated, not accidental. Your existence is part of a deliberate eternal design. That concept should ground you. You don't have to worry about accidentally missing your calling, because your calling is fundamentally baked into who you are, and it predates, well, everything. It shifts the question from what should I become to something more like how should I live out who I already am.
That leads us perfectly from identity into action then, because the source material is really clear. God didn't define this incredible identity just so we could feel good about ourselves or, just coast until heaven. We were selected, it says, to actually accomplish specific work on earth. So what is that designated purpose?
Well, the divine mission is stated right there in the verse, 1 Peter 2.9, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. That's our function. We're meant to share God's goodness, his character, with a world that's still, frankly, struggling in darkness.
Okay, but how do we simplify that? Proclaiming praises can sound a bit formal, like we all need a microphone or a stage.
Right, good point.
Yeah.
The source offers a very helpful analogy. Think of ourselves as ambassadors representing their king in foreign lands.
Hmm.
An ambassador doesn't just make up their job description, right? They faithfully represent the policies, the character, the dignity of the country they serve.
Okay, I get that.
So we represent Christ in the world. Our mission is basically to make sure our actions, our words, reflect the nature of the kingdom we belong to.
And following that analogy, this mission must be universal then. It's not just for pastors or missionaries, people with specific religious job titles.
Exactly right. The source makes that very clear. This calling applies no matter what you do. Student, parent, engineer, retiree, whatever. Wherever you spend the bulk of your time, that is the location of your embassy, so to speak. Every single believer has opportunities, big or small, to share God's goodness just by being a faithful representative right where they are.
Which brings us to maybe the most critical part, living the calling. How do we take these high-level theological titles and actually apply them to the often very mundane reality of, say, a Monday morning commute, or
Yeah.
budget meetings, or doing the laundry?
Yeah, the devotional tackles this head on. It insists that actually nothing is truly mundane when you view it through this lens of purpose, those routine tasks. They gain immense significance when you remember that God sovereignly placed you exactly where you are, in part to shine his light there.
So the mission field isn't necessarily some remote village halfway across the world. Where are the primary fields the sources identify?
They're immediate, they're intimate. Your workplace, your neighborhood, and your family, these are the primary arenas where God's character gets displayed through patience, integrity, maybe unconditional love, faithful service. So being a light in the workplace might mean, I don't know, honest accounting or refusing gossip. In the neighborhood, maybe practical help for a neighbor or just patience in traffic.
But that makes me think of the illustration the source used, the story of Esther. She was positioned as queen for such a time as this. I hear that phrase a lot, but what does it really mean for someone listening today who might feel completely unqualified for where they find themselves?
Yeah, Esther's story is a powerful illustration of divine appointment over just random chance. She wasn't just lucky to become queen. She was placed there specifically to save her people. So for us, it means your unique circumstances, your specific job, your skills, your family situation, they aren't random. They are, in a sense, divinely appointed staging grounds for a purpose you might not even fully grasp yet. You are there for such a time as this to display God's character.
Okay, let's circle back to one of those titles. Royal Priesthood. It sounds very practical, implying service. But if everyone is a priest now, doesn't that make the term less special? What's the practical responsibility that comes with that title today?
That's a great question. And it's less about diminishing the title, I think, and more about expanding access. Historically, right, the priest was the mediator between God and people. But now, the privilege of being part of this royal priesthood means direct access to the Father through Christ. We don't need human mediators anymore.
Okay, direct access.
Yes, but that privilege comes with a corresponding responsibility. The source is highlighted as sort of twofold. First, we're responsible to intercede, to pray for others, to stand in the gap for them using that direct access we have. And second, we're responsible to help others encounter God's love and truth, basically guiding them toward the same access we now possess. So we're not offering animal sacrifice anymore, but offering up, spiritual service and intercession.
Right. Now, the attitude here seems critical. If I really internalize that I am God's treasured possession, selected before the world began, Well, it could easily lead to a kind of arrogance, couldn't it? Like, I'm chosen and maybe you're not, or I'm better than others.
Absolutely, that's the danger, and the text is quite clear in warning against that. Being chosen is not meant to produce superiority. It must produce humility, overwhelming gratitude. We aren't chosen just for our own sake, but really for the sake of others. Like Israel was chosen to be a light to the nations, we are chosen to be a light and a blessing to the world. Our selection should make us the most eager servants, actually not the most entitled observers.
Okay, so the application moves from the identity of treasured to the action of service. What's the simplest, most concrete step the devotional suggests for integrating this identity day to day?
It's very practical, actually. It suggests daily, just take a moment, thank God for your selection for this identity, and then ask Him to show you concrete, immediate opportunities, maybe even within the next hour, to proclaim His praises. That could be through your words, maybe your actions, or even just your attitude. It really moves the concept out of abstract theology and into tangible, hour-by-hour living.
Okay, let's try and summarize the transformation we've covered here. We've seen how you can shift from an identity defined by maybe searching for external meaning or approval or worldly success to realizing you are already a treasured possession with an eternal, God-defined purpose.
Exactly. And this foundational identity chosen generation, royal priesthood, holy nation, special people, this becomes the framework you use to evaluate and maybe reject the world's standards of success and failure. If your purpose is already defined by God, then what external approval are you really striving for?
That is a powerful question to end on. We've established that your purpose, it's already defined. It's baked into your identity as chosen and called. The challenge then isn't finding a purpose, but living worthy of that high calling, proclaiming God's goodness right where you are positioned.
So here's our final thought for you to carry into your day. If your ordinary, everyday routine activities, things like navigating rush hour traffic or responding patiently to a difficult customer, or maybe choosing integrity over convenience at home, if those are truly part of your mission field as an ambassador representing your king,
Hmm.
what specific change, however small it might seem, would you make today to live up to that incredibly high and wonderful standard? Go live as one chosen and called.